Hey folks, welcome back to Game Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're going over Gaming News Consolidated. This is April 13th through the 19th. And yeah, what I basically do here is I just take time every week to go over news, articles, consolidate it all in one place for you. Of course, I don't quite cover everything, but it is a lot of the stuff that's actually covered during the week by a lot of other channels. Because yeah, sometimes watching those, it's a lot of videos to keep up with. And not all of them can keep up with the news either. There's honestly just too much. So I do the best that I can. I shove it all together. But hey, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be talking about the MarioKart World Direct. We're also going to be taking time to get a sales update for Astrobot, as we were keeping up with that, especially since it's one game of the year. We're also going to talk about Digital Foundry. There are some guys that have been doing technical analysis for quite some time for a lot of games, especially over at PC. And they also keep up with different console launches and stuff. But yeah, they got into some hot water, and we're going to chat about why. Also going to talk about some stuff in the Minecraft movie, which I just thought was crazy. We're also going to get an update for the Tomb Raider TV show done by Amazon. We're going to talk about Star Citizen. We're going to also talk about some EA stuff as well. Borderlands movie. Nintendo backwards compatibility. Oh yeah, I did forget to pull that up. Well, I can edit that out when I get there. We're also going to talk about some PSN going up again, though this time in Canada. We're going to talk about some things that Ubisoft said after a lawsuit, and yeah, more. Like there's a bunch. So thanks for tuning in. You can always like, share, all that jazz. But hey, let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about the Mario Kart World Direct. So what we ultimately got to see is this is about 16 minutes roughly. Got to see 29 tracks. That's what I counted. 48 playable characters, at least as far as I was able to count. I'm assuming also the same number of carts. So yeah, 48 is actually quite a bit. We also got to see 2 primary game modes, which we would expect, Grand Prix and Knockout Tour. 24 driver races. So yeah, these races, they are huge. Grand Prix, you'll basically be able to drive between tracks. And, if you do all of the pre's, you actually unlock Rainbow Road. If you focus on Knockout Tour, basically if you're toward the back of the pack, you'll be eliminated, and so eventually you get toward the very last track. There's just going to be a few of you left. We also got to see some new items. And then also there's going to be a participation mechanic. So like the further back that you've actually are, the more likely you are to actually get items to be helpful, or like maybe a better chance at some of the better items. They didn't, again, quite explain this, but the participation mechanic among 24 different players just sounds kind of insane. And that's kind of nuts. We also got to see like throwing some hammers. We also got to see a coin shell that drops coins. We also got to see a feather that actually allows you to jump or get an extra jump to try to avoid stuff on the track. Let's see, we also got to see... Oh, hold on, let's see. Yeah, we also got to see some other new features to help new players. At least that's what they said during the Direct. So we got to see auto accelerate, motion steer, just like the Wii, though that's not really new. And then this time we actually have a black steering wheel, which is going to be $25. We also got to see basically there's invisible bumpers that keep you on the track so that you can't actually fall off. And I'm kind of curious because it's like, okay, is this actually okay in competitive racing? Because like you've set the parameters for yourself and you're playing a game, and you're also playing competitively with potentially 23 other players. Like, are these okay? Are these kind of like, in a way, pay-to-win features? Yeah, I don't know. I'm really not sure if I'm really okay with that, because now you're like, giving advantages over other players, and some people might want to make things more difficult for themselves, which they can, but then other players can also make it as easy as possible, which would give them an edge on the track, especially not being able to fall off. I mean, imagine that. That would be kind of crazy. We also got to see something for pit stops. Looked like it was just in free roam, according to the little map icon on the right side. We're looking too that maybe there's some, randomized cosmetics. Eating different meals with different characters is going to be unlocking different skins for your cart, different skins for your character. And again, we're looking at like a minimum of 48 characters doing the math with how many pages we actually saw. So there are hundreds and hundreds of different skins for your cart, skins for your characters, and everything. And I assume that you want to pick up all of the meals that you can eat in free roam with every single character, so that you can eventually unlock everything. So while that's interesting, again, there's like hundreds, maybe even thousands of these, depending on actually how many there are, which is kind of crazy. And then when you actually unlock these, they're permanent. There's also challenges too in free roam. So there's some things to discover. There's some coins. There's some shortcuts you can work on. There's even some things you can kind of like practice in free roam and kind of learn like the best avenues of approaches for corners or where the shortcuts are and stuff, and how to exit things and things to look out for. So you can really kind of like take the time to memorize and analyze all of the tracks once you have all of them unlocked. I did look too that actually all of the tracks are unlocked except for Rainbow Road. Which again is kind of interesting. But yeah, it looks like actually all 29 on the map are open. So yeah, that is kind of interesting. Usually you have maps or worlds or areas that you need to unlock as you're playing, but that doesn't necessarily look like that's going to be the case, at least from what we saw in the showcase. We also got to see that there's new features. There's like wall ride, so you're able to like jump up and actually ride along a wall to help you out, maybe even potentially to avoid different stuff on the track. There's also a rewind feature during races, which again doesn't really quite make too much sense, because when you take time to rewind, everyone else is still moving forward. So why you would want to rewind to lose the lead or to lose position? I'm not entirely sure. And then too, you're also forcing yourself, even though maybe it's a few seconds, to actually spend more time on the track and potentially get hit or hurt or whatever, which could just cause more issues for you. So yeah, that was just kind of interesting. There's also a charge jump feature that you'll be able to do while going straight. So charging boosts aren't just while you're power sliding. And then yeah, the feather that we talked about actually allows you to jump too. So there's actually a lot of like features that can help you get around objects, because again, we're going to have 23 other players potentially on the track that you're on. There's going to be a lot of people throwing stuff, pushing stuff. It's going to be I imagine actually pretty insane, pretty chaotic, and there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. So allow some features like wall ride, like charge jump, and the feather to be able to help you avoid some of this outside of the normal ways is actually kind of nice. You'll also be able to race in teams. We're also going to have battle modes, which again look the same as Mario Kart 8, which we've had forever. We're also going to be having a photo mode where you can strike different poses. We're also going to have 4-player split screen, which is actually pretty cool. And then you're also going to be able to have 8-player wireless play. So what this means is that someone's on the screen, someone's going to be on a tablet, right, of some form, like another. Like on the actual handheld itself, or you might even be able to use one of the Switch ones, of course. And so you can have 2 players per console for a total of 4, and you all can actually link all of that together and have a total of 8 players, which again is the most we've ever had. It's doubling the player count, which is pretty cool. But again, I would kind of expect it to be a little bigger. Or kind of be able to link maybe more, but that's just what they have for right now, is you can get a total of 8 players. And then too, if you're actually wanting to do that, or you're wanting to add more screens like Switch ones, well then you got to go out and actually buy Switch ones, which still haven't gone down in price. I mean, the MSRP is still $300 minimum, and if you get OLED, that's another $50 on top of that, so $350. So yeah, some of these features are a cool idea, and they definitely are upgrades from what we've had in the past. But boy, either way, it is kind of getting expensive if you with certain ways to do it. Also, during the promotion toward the end, they're still trying to sell you game chat. I think they've been seeing the backlash of that, of actually putting that behind a paywall. And then too, they're pushing on selling you a camera again, which is now $55 instead of $50. The online services haven't gone up in price at all. They're still exactly the same. But yeah, the frame rate on the camera, again, just looks horrible. Looks really bad. So my overall thoughts is that it's ultimately just bigger Mario Kart. I mean, there's a few things that are different, a few things that have changed. The biggest one is probably the open world. Also, too, that, while we're going to have racing or moving kind of in between tracks, it really doesn't look like the in between track thing is really going to be a big deal. So maybe when finally everyone gets there, the game is going to reorganize you all into position, and then you're just going to be able to go. Otherwise, what you're going to be doing is like people that are really good at the game, you're not going to be hitting any power ups or anything like that, and people will just have time to actually get from A to B between these tracks. And some of them, there's like 4 tracks, so you have 3 gaps where there's not going to be any power ups. It's just getting there as quickly as you can ahead of all of the other drivers, and that's where free roam is going to really help out, and that's really going to screw some players, and I'm not sure exactly how people are going to feel about that. So again, we'll have to see exactly how they plan on doing this, because either everyone can just go off all at once, or you can have it to where everybody meets up at the next track, and so you're waiting for other players to queue in until you have everybody, and then you can start the next race. And then the order that you come in is going to determine the order that you're going to be at the start line to start the next race. So either way, it's going to take a lot of time to actually like finish some of these races. Which, yeah, that should be interesting too. Ultimately, we got to see that the game prices aren't going up, but this is still, Mario Kart World is still going to be $80, $90, and ultimately, is it worth it? Well, that's for other folks to decide. Me personally, no. My wife and I are going to be skipping this, but it really doesn't feel like there's any real surprises for the showcase. I mean, they basically showed everything. Again, there's some improvements. There's some features that are nice. There's some benefits to newer players. There's some interesting mechanics, but again, it's not really anything unique or different. They didn't really seem to really save anything or give us anything for those 15 minutes. And then they're still on top of that pushing the game chat and the camera to get you to pay more money, which again just feels kind of gimmicky, just to kind of shove that in your face at the very end. And yeah, again, there was really no big like reveal for anything. It's just like, ta-da, bigger Mario Kart, which we already knew that multiple times. So I don't know. It just feels a little weird, a little awkward. Visually, everything looks really good. I mean, again, the ray tracing, the higher graphics, again, 4K on your TV or 1080p at 120 hertz on your handheld, depending on how you're playing it. Again, visually, everything looks really good, looks really clear, seems to run and be stable. Everything, all of that seems to be working great. I wonder too, though, like what they're going to do for the next Mario Kart, and are we going to have Switch 2 and whatever the next generation is, and just maintain Mario World, not have any improvement, because that's what they did for Mario Kart 8. I mean, we've been seeing that forever, and I don't know. They also just going to bridge to the next generation with the same game without giving us another one. I mean, we've waited a long time for a Mario Kart, and it's like, this is kind of it, because we've had a lot of games come before then and have a lot of these mechanics, have a lot of these other different features and options and graphics, and it's like we've already kind of experienced a lot of this in other games. So I don't know. For me personally, it's just kind of a letdown, even if it was $60. I'm not sure if I would really buy it right away. I wonder too if they're going to maybe push VR in the future at some point, or if they're going to add more tracks, be able to create your own tracks. I think that would personally be cool. Create your own tracks like they did with Mario Maker and let people experience it and play it and just have a blast. But yeah, we'll see what they do with the next Mario Kart, and even when we get it, it might be another decade or longer. But yeah, visually it looks good. Some are going to enjoy the race, the more players, some of the added features. The exploring is probably going to be fun. That'll be probably a fun way to chill. And again, too, you can meet up with some of your buddies and just go for a free roam, which is kind of neat, and just explore the world together. I did want to mention, too, that some of the tracks actually look pretty simplistic. And while none of them were overly difficult or challenging, except maybe like Rainbow Road or a few others, but it's like some of these tracks actually look according to the map that you get to see in the corner while you're racing. It's like, this is literally kind of a straight line with some bends in it. Or this is kind of just kind of a loop, just kind of like nothing is nothing seems overly woohoo. Again, like it's graphically dazzling. It looks beautiful, but yeah, some of these tracks actually look pretty simple. And yeah, something too I wanted to add is something that also feels kind of weird about this generation of Nintendo and Mario Kart World is like this feels like this is really just a bunch of 30-year-olds talking about talking about kids games, and that's just kind of weird. And so, honestly, what are kids playing today? Well, we already know, Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, mobile games. I mean, that's 80% of like the younger generations, Gen Z and Alpha. I think Alpha is like around 90% actually playing mobile games, according to the surveys that have been done by like New Zoo and some others. But like, I did want to show you this because this is actually really interesting. If we pull this up here, this is actually a graph of the, I don't know exactly what year this is, but this was a current state of Nintendo Switch users. And as you can see, the bulk, this is 19 years old right here, all the way to like 41, 42. Like there's a ton of players right there. The kids are all over here. And like this honestly is one of the much smaller demographics. And then we have this curtailment over here starting at like kind of roughly 41, 42, 43 years old, and it shrinks down from that. But yeah, the bulk of players clearly are from 20 years old all the way over to, oh, I guess maybe 19. 19 all the way to like 41, 42 years old. And the bulk of the player base is right here. I mean, we're talking age 20 to 31. So, yeah, that's kind of hilarious to me. It's like the bunch of us talking about a video game and talking about the console, and Nintendo knows that they have the nostalgia, right? And but yeah, the younger generations, they're not really capturing that very well. We even see this dip here past age 12, and it actually stays pretty low until we get to like age 17 again. So again, I don't know exactly when this snapshot is, but this is just kind of surprising because you would think that all of this is really built around families and around kids, and that's not what the player base is actually seeing. This is the actual age distribution, and that's just kind of shocking. So, is Nintendo really capturing the younger generations? Because if that's the case, like Gen Z would basically be the last ones. Gen Alpha isn't maybe really that interested. There's also less families than there used to be, generally speaking. Less people are having kids. Less people are staying married and having kids. Yeah, so I don't know. This is just kind of eye-opening to me. It's just like with some of the changes that we're seeing with Nintendo for Switch 2, maybe this is part of the reason. Because it's a bunch of adults and middle-aged folks that are actually like playing. Like, I'm 35. I old man in the gaming community, right? And but yeah, I just thought this was interesting. What are your thoughts, honestly? Because again, it just feels kind of weird, and it feels like if this is where the player base is, this is the age distribution. Maybe Nintendo does have to change things. Maybe they really do have to shift stuff around and start kind of catering to older audiences. Because again, this is where the player base is, and everybody that's talking about it are basically are in their 30s. So, I mean, yeah, you tell me. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Let's go and continue on, though. Oh, yeah, I will also have a link down below, too, for the Mario Kart World Direct, if you're interested. Let's talk about Astrobot sales. So, as of January 8th, we're at 2.3 million sales. If we multiply that by $60, this would give us another 2 months of sales data. But yeah, you multiply 2.3 times $60, which is what the MSRP is. If everyone bought full price, this would be $138 million. So I'm pretty sure they definitely made their money. Exactly, we don't know how much. We know all of the DLCs that they were going to have to basically for the game, which I think were 3 or 4 of them. Those were also going to be free. I don't think they're planning on making any other DLCs. Maybe a little like small free updates. But roughly in another 2 months from the 1.5 that we had, they roughly picked up another 800,000 units in sales, which is still pretty good. Again, they won Game of the Year. But, with 4.5 months, Game of the Year has only sold 2.3 million units. That just seems really small. That just seems really short to me. And like I mentioned this back when we heard that what the Game of the Year was Astrobot. And again, it's a wonderful game, but not a lot of people played it. And we might see 3 million. Again, it's profitable. Again, it's got 3 million players, but so does Assassin's Creed Shadows right now. Assassin's Creed Shadows has 3 million players. That's not Game of the Year material. And we're giving it to Astrobot? I don't know. Maybe we should kind of have take the Game of the Year with a grain of salt with Jeff Keighley's show. Because it just feels off. Because there's some other games that year that I think certainly would have been better, that had more of an effect on the industry. And it's just kind of shocking. I mean, I think of Helldivers 2. I think of Space Marine 2. I think of Black Myth Wukong. I mean, and 2, I even think of Black Ops 6. I mean, those definitely sold more, made more player engagement. What are we doing here? This is weird. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. And will I let it go? Yeah, eventually. Till we get to the next Game of the Year, maybe. But yeah, it's who's making these decisions? And this has been a complaint too for a while for some other people. But yeah, this is just kind of interesting. Let's talk about Digital Foundry. So they've done some awesome stuff in the past. They've been going for a long time. They've had a YouTube channel, and which I highly suggest if you want technical specs and what they think about the gaming industry and how things are compared to other consoles and stuff or other different versions of the game, definitely check them out. But they did something that was kind of not normal, out of character. And Digital Foundry really got on the map with the PlayStation 5 Pro, but now they're on the map for another reason. And last week, they had a vid that was straight up an ad on their channel. They weren't talking about anything. They weren't even a part of the video at all. It was just a straight up reclip of Legend of Zelda from the Nintendo Direct and putting it on their channel. And the thing that was crazy is they said that it was a sponsored video, but then they're not even a part of that. And then within 24 hours, they changed it to labeling the title as an ad. But again, it still kind of hurts their credibility because it's okay, so you guys are getting money from Nintendo while you're analyzing and trying to be objective about Nintendo. And this is a really tumultuous time right now with the Switch 2 and all of the pricing and all of the other issues and delayed pre-orders and stuff, which you'll be able to do on the 24th if you're interested, and all of the other stuff that's come out. And then it's we get this with Digital Foundry. This is not a great look, and it really doesn't make any sense that they've actually done this because, again, they've always been very clear what they're doing, and the fact that this is just a straight up ad. It's not a review. They're not looking at anything. They're just giving it a straight up ad. And then they had a video later, at least a clip, talking about Legend of Zelda. And it's there's a conflict of interest there. So, because they actually have two channels. They have their main one, and then they also have Digital Foundry clips. And they got a lot of backlash for this, and I think too, rightly so. I think about my own channel. I don't want to take any money from anywhere that can damage the trust with you guys. Because I'm here to take a look at games. I'm here to talk about the gaming industry, what's going on with companies, layoffs, studios, game development, what I think about the games as objectively as I can. And I still got to practice on that. I'm certainly not perfect. But man, to take money on something you're going to be analyzing for your channel, when, too, there's all of this extra frustration and confusion and just things are hot right now for Nintendo, which is why I really think they kept the prices the same with the tariffs. But, this is just This just doesn't sound like them. So I did do a little bit more digging. I did find out that Digital Foundry is actually owned by Eurogamer, or at least they have a partnership, whatever. So there's some influence there that Eurogamer has. And then Eurogamer was actually bought by IGN, if we remember, in 2024. And so did Digital Foundry really have a choice? Or was it more Eurogamer, more IGN, more kind of like external influence? And even if it was, it's like, why don't their bosses understand that they're damaging the brand of Digital Foundry? People are still going to check them out. But like myself included, I'm going to be a little bit more leery about what they're talking about, what they're saying, how they're putting it, what they're showing. Because, yeah, it's like you're taking money for something you're analyzing and trying to be objective about, and that's a conflict of interest. Like, that wouldn't fly in a courtroom. Not at all. So, yeah, I really hope it wasn't their call. If it was, it'll be easier to correct. That's one positive way of looking at it. And, yeah, I hope they never do this again. If it's their bosses at Eurogamer or technically IGN now, maybe there's going to be more of this in the future, but I hope their bosses learn, because it's like if they destroy or damage Digital Foundry too much, it's not going to be the influence that IGN wants. There isn't going to be any influence. We've already had that with previous studios already and other publishers and developers. So, yeah, I mean, no one at this point should be doing anything to damage trust with their channel, their brand, their product, or their service. Because again, the customer is everything. Just like here, you guys are the reason why I do this. But yeah, money can get in the way. And that's dangerous. That sucks. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future with Digital Foundry. Let's talk about the Minecraft movie meme. Maybe you guys have seen this. Yeah, just take a look at this. And say chicken jockey. And everybody just goes ballistic. Like, oh my word, could you imagine the mess? And then I'm sure they got in trouble because all the lights came on. The movie shut off. But it's like, yeah, could you imagine the mess, dude? And some of the theaters are certainly complaining about this because, I mean, we're literally talking about everything just getting dumped, confetti going everywhere. There's even some people that are bringing in real chickens, like that guy, and they're getting loose in the theater. And it's like, yeah, well, if you have a chicken, what do you do with it? So one theater chain, which I was unable to find, but yeah, it's out there, I guess, that actually one theater chain is having one particular theater screen where you can go crazy, right? And everyone else can just go have a normal viewing. So I think that's cool because, again, it doesn't absolutely wreck every theater that's showing Minecraft, right? But then people are still also to celebrate the way they would like, because this type of energy for a theater and excitement for a movie, man, we haven't had this in like 10 years. Like, this is like, yeah, this is something else. This is pretty crazy. So, but yeah, people are complaining about having to clean up that mess, and while that is unnecessary, well, some days you're going to be paid the same, and you're just going to have to do more work. It's just part of the job. Every job. That's just how it is. So be thankful you have one. I have some friends that are struggling right now, and they got families, they got kids. So yeah, be thankful you have one, even if it is something like sweeping up popcorn. It's money. But yeah, I just thought this was hilarious. I just had to share that. Also, too, a little update on the Tomb Raider TV show on Amazon. This was going to be done by Waller-Bridge. She did a couple of movies, but again, she hasn't done one in quite some time. She did also write the script and help direct one of her movies that was very heavily praised by some people. And probably not a movie for everybody, but yeah, some people really enjoyed it. So yeah, she finally got a crack at actually doing Tomb Raider. She grew up with Tomb Raider as a kid, which is awesome. But boy, after like tens of millions, like $15-20 million potentially, definitely over 10 million, I'll put it that way, she still didn't have a script. It's like, man, what is going on? Like, we're giving you all of this money. Where's the money going? You've produced nothing. So yeah, Amazon's just like, nope, we are cutting it off. It's over. We've completely canceled the show. And honestly, I'm thankful. I mean, someone else did the Tomb Raider animated series, which I guess is going to have another season. But like, they're trying to change who Tomb Raider is, who Lara Croft is, and Amanda Waller just kind of gives off the same energy, might I say. And so, yeah, I was not excited for this. I was planning on watching it, but now, hey, we don't have to worry about it. And even, too, I'd say that, Crystal Dynamics has, like, freaked out over the pinups in some of the remastered games. And so they initially removed those, and then enough people complained they put them back. And it's like, again, why is it so important to change the character? I mean, there's a way to do it without being obnoxious, okay? To the extent of, sexual flair and all that. But like, what are we doing? Honestly, this is just weird. That we are completely pushing the other way, just like the Tomb Raider animated series, which I did a review on. If you'd like to take a look at it, there's scenes in there that are unnecessary. They made Lara Croft more or less basically kind of look like a guy. And like, again, I'm not really sure exactly what they were going for. Some parts of the TV show work great. We'll see what the second season looks like. But lately, it's just there's been a lot of IPs where they've been shifting and changing stuff on purpose, just in the name of modern audience. And it's like, why? The people that you're catering to. I mean, let's take a look at Star Wars. Oh my word. Like, what are you doing, Disney? You have effectively destroyed Marvel, and you've effectively destroyed Star Wars. Like, and your streaming platform. Like, they're losing millions of subscribers every quarter. Still. Like, congratulations, I guess. Even for viewing on TVs, they're only 5% of total viewing, which includes Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN. Only 5%? Man, they used to be like more than double that. So, again, this modern audience thing, where are you guys? I mean, and two companies ultimately, like, they just need to be focused on knowing who their audience is and then catering to their audience. Whether you agree with certain aspects or not, that's the company you're working for. That's the project you're working on. Like, you better know what your audience wants, otherwise they're just going to say no. I mean, that's the short end of the stick. If you're interested in watching my review of the Lara Croft Season 1 Tomb Raider animated series, it'll be linked in the description for you. Or you can find it on my channel, too. There's a playlist for all of the animations, all of the reviews that I've done for adaptions. Let's talk about Star Citizen. They have now officially reached $800 million raised. $800 million raised, and we haven't even gotten to a point where, where we've had a finished product. I mean, seriously, like, what is going on with this? It's taken forever. This game has technically been in development for like well over a decade, I think, at this point. I think it was a Kickstarter project, if I remember, if I can even think back that far. But yeah, $800 million. Like, this is one of the most expensive made games in history. I don't think this will cap GTA 6, but like, it beats Cyberpunk 2077. It beats Skull and Bones. It beats Destiny 1 and 2. It beats Red Dead Redemption 2. Man, like, it even beats all of the Call of Duty games. 800 million. Like, what? Like, even Cold War, Call of Duty Cold War, I think was $700 million to make. They have 800 million raised from whales that play their game. And good grief, Squadron 42 is supposed to come out, but that's also been delayed as well. I mean, I don't think we're going to get Squadron 42 this year. I think it's going to be next year at the earliest. It might even be a 2027 thing. And then it's like, when are they actually going to release the game? Golly, you can't be in beta forever. You can't keep putting new stuff in all the time. Some of the aspects of the game are really cool, but good gravy, man. Like, what are they doing? So anyway, I just thought that was crazy. Just a reminder, they are hitting some financial trouble. They did have to effectively close down most of their studios, not their studios, but most of their headquarters. And yeah, this is a serious problem. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of crazy. I honestly don't think they'll even release the game before they go bankrupt. And I think that sucks because all of the people, the $800 million, just nothing to show for it. It's disgusting, and this is why I hate live service. Again, it can work. It can be beneficial to the players. But again, the people in control, they just don't use it that way. And it's frustrating. Yeah, to say the least. So the Borderlands movie, maybe some of you guys see it. It was actually one of the worst movies put out, I think, in 2024. And I went to see it with Lion Chaser, and man, was it bad. They had some fan service. That was cool. But again, it was really, really bad. Boring, frustrating. The jokes were flat. It was definitely worse. Well, maybe a little bit worse than Minecraft. Because one thing I like to do to try to, remove bias is take the brand away and leave it as a movie. And how is the movie? And man, Borderlands was horrible. So the guy that ended up producing this ended up blaming, now he's not blaming you guys, he's not blaming us, the audience, he's now blaming the fact that he had to do it over Zoom because of COVID and all that. So didn't have access to the sets, didn't have access to the stuntmen, etc. And it's like, you don't need any of that to actually make the script. Like, I wonder what Waller's excuse is going to be for the Tomb Raider movie that isn't going to exist anymore on Amazon. Like, are we getting to a point where people can't write scripts? Where they can't have a vision for what they're making? I'm being serious, because we take a look at some of this stuff and the path forward, the way to do it. Let's take the Halo TV show, for example. It's like, oh, we're going to have a, the silver timeline. And it's like, why? Just recreate what we want on the screen. That is probably the best feature and aspect of the Minecraft movie. It's Minecraft. Clearly, it is Minecraft. And that's why I think it's so successful, is because this fan service is so high. I don't think the acting is great. I think a lot of other aspects are kind of bleh, and the story's pretty shallow, and the tropes aren't really that funny, and the jokes we've heard a million times. So, I mean, there's that. But, like, still, Minecraft is Minecraft. And the sets are great. How they built everything, how they told everything, the stuff that they shared. I mean, just repeatedly, it was fan service, fan service, fan service. And it was a wonderful job. But to go from blaming your audience for the Borderlands movie not doing great to now blaming COVID and Zoom meetings. I mean, other movies had to deal with that too, and they were able to produce something better, something more engaging, something more enticing, engaging the emotions of the viewer. Like, just admit that you should have had someone else make the movie. Do the script. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. So yeah, too, if you're interested in watching the my Borderlands review, you can go ahead and I'll link it down below for you. I'm going to have a lot of links to this video, I think. But hey, let's go ahead and move on to EA. So boy, are they frustrated. So they have something for the next Battlefield game that's supposed to be coming out later this year. They have something that they made called Battlefield Labs, which is taking basically the next roughly 12 months of getting player feedback, getting engagement. The queue is huge still, by the way, for people trying to actually get into this, kind of dynamic beta test. And so yeah, they're wanting to get as much feedback as they can. Again, Battlefield 2042 was like 2 years of fixing it, which was just stupid and a mess. It was incredibly frustrating. They even took out like the class system and all this other stuff. It's like, dude, stop making it as COD. Like, you have your own audience. Your audience is available. Like, cater to them, please. Cater to them. Be Battlefield. Don't be Call of Duty. Call of Duty is its own thing. So yeah, they've had massive demand for the playtests, but it looks like testers are actually leaking stuff. Now, we're not going to talk about anything that's leaked, except for one particular thing, which has me pretty worried, is that it looks like they're definitely having skill-based matchmaking in the game. Now, every game to a degree has skill-based matchmaking, but boy, I have PTSD from COD, because if it's anything like COD skill-based matchmaking, they have just made it tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, to the point where it is just sweat fest all the time. There's no way to actually get anywhere, to do anything. You can't even play more than an hour because you're kind of exhausted and your eyes bleed because you haven't been blinking the whole time as you're trying to win. And it's just not casualized whatsoever at all. It's super tight. So again, if they have skill-based matchmaking in the game, I am okay with that. What I'm struggling with is if it's so range-bound, being so tight like Call of Duty, oh man, it is not going to be fun because you're going to have vehicles, you're going to have aircraft, helicopters, gun emplacements, snipers. Like, you're going to have people busting through the whole wall and just rushing in and murdering everybody. I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a whole new level of sweat. I don't know if we've really seen in a game before. With all of the stuff you can do, all of the creativeness. Again, they're even completely revamping, it looks like, their destruction mechanics for buildings and everything else, which is great. But then again, the creativity really ratchets up, and the Battlefield 2 will also dynamically change as you're going. So you're going to have to be thinking on your feet, and to be so range bound and skill based. Man, I don't want that. I mean, I want a mixture of poor, mid, and good players. And every once in a while, you'll get killed by that same guy that's really, really good, that's just taking out everybody, but you're still going to be able to get kills. You're still going to be able to get down. Some matches are going to be horrible. Some matches you'll be mid in most of the time, and then other matches sometimes you're going to be doing really, really great. And, that used to be normal for Call of Duty and quite a few other games too, to be honest. And man, skill-based matchmaking for a lot of games has been so range-bound, it's gotten frustrating. I would even say too, also for Destiny, and I would say too also for Fortnite and Apex, and I could probably think of some others, but like skill-based matchmaking, if it's in there, again, that's okay, but I don't want it to be range-bound. So we don't have an official release date, but yeah, the next Battlefield is supposed to release in 2025, and if I can, I'll definitely be taking a look at it. Let's talk about Nintendo's backwards compatibility list so far. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is basically updated every single week. I think it's every couple of weeks. And these are all of the games that they've tested, first-party games. This is what this is, just to show you guys. Where is it? Maybe it doesn't show it right away, but oh yeah, Nintendo games. So yeah, first parties right here. They basically tested absolutely everything. We actually do have some games, not going to be very many, thankfully, that that aren't going to work. Either because of like Joy-Con 1 support or a few other issues. But the majority of them, okay, they'll be backwards compat just fine. The other issue is that there's 15 other games with partners with third-party stuff, and a lot of stuff is in progress. They have a few games that are actually playable, but they have certain issues in certain games, and then there's other issues that are found on startup, but none of these are actually stopped by being compatible so far, which is nice. But we've only hit about maybe 21%, 22% that are actually going to be just fine, and the rest of these are all in progress. So if you want to, again, you can just type in Nintendo Switch backwards compat list. It's on Nintendo's website. You can pull it up just like I did, and you can take a look at it yourself at any time to actually see. So I wish more companies actually did this, because it'd be nice to actually have a little bit more control, a little bit more accountability to actually see what's going on behind the scenes. Again, a lot of companies really like to hide as much as they can. If they didn't have to share anything, I don't think they would. And even to some degree, They like to use numbers and stats to try to show that it's successful. Okay, like Assassin's Creed Shadows. I don't think Assassin's Creed Shadows, even at 3 million players, is successful yet. Which is kind of a bummer. But again, you can watch my review on that too if you want. It's over an hour. It's a really long one, but boy, there's a lot of little teeny things that add up to just a mediocre experience for me personally. It is incredibly frustrating. But yeah, I'll keep you guys up to date every so often until launch, and probably even after a launch a little bit on that backwards compat list. Because yeah, I think backwards compatibility is important, and I think it's important now more than ever. Because people are getting stabilized on creating their libraries, and they want to be able to take their libraries with them. And so yeah, being able to transfer stuff around, that's really important. And I think all of the console companies need to be able to do that. So Steam has already done that. So is GOG and like Epic Game Store to a degree. Again, there's probably a few case studies there, but generally speaking, your library is always going to be there. But the thing that I worry about with consoles is that, you know, as they change the media, as they change the architecture for their motherboards and stuff, and new technologies or even new engines, it may actually get more difficult. And then there's the licensing stuff too. But it gets difficult to keep that backwards compatibility going. And, you know, I mean, there's ways around that. That'd be for a separate video. But yeah, I hope these companies are thinking really long term, because where people are, that's probably just where they're going to stay. And there's not going to be a lot of movement. Unless you're going over to PC. They seem to be growing about 3% per year, which is pretty insane. All right, let's talk about PlayStation Network. So we've already known that in some places the consoles have been going up in some regions. PlayStation Network has been going up in some regions. Well, now we're adding PlayStation Network for another one that's going up in Canada. And it looks like roughly quite a few. This just sucks. Quite a few of these increases are, 20, 30%, depending. But let's go over these real quick. So Essentials for 1 month is going to be $12 to $14. 3 months is $30 to $35, and 12 months is $95 to $110. Extra for 1 month is $18 to $21. 3 months is $50 to $56. 12 months is $155 to $190. Premium is 1 month, $21 to $25. 3 months is $60 to $69, and 12 months is $190 to $225. Like, we're starting to get pretty hefty in prices here. We also already had some price increases in 2022, which again was not received very well. And ultimately what we're seeing is that we're not getting extra benefits for these increases again. And it's like, really, Sony? You're going to be having two price hikes basically for just about everybody in the world, in 3 years with no extra benefits, no extra value? Like, eventually this has got to stop. Like, they need to either figure out what they're going to add, provide value, because, yeah, life is hard, folks. Things are tough. It's getting pretty frustrating for a lot of folks, but yeah, they need to be doing something. And it's kind of interesting, too. It's like they're slowly rolling this out. They're not giving all of the news at once. And I kind of wonder if they're using the bad coverage right now on Nintendo with the Switch 2 to kind of like slowly, hopefully, wiggle this stuff under the radar. Because, again, not a lot of channels are picking it up. Mystic is, which I take time to watch some videos on his channel to catch up on some news with whatever's going on in PlayStation, because I personally don't own one. And, but yeah, he's a great channel if you want to keep up with PlayStation stuff. His channel is great. But yeah, it's very interesting to see how they're doing this, because I feel like they're trying to avoid the backlash. Because, again, Sony has been at the beating block for quite some time, for a few years, and is like 23, 24, and now also 25 so far. So, yeah, they're probably trying to avoid some stuff. But again, it just shows that ultimately prices are going up. Digital, physical, doesn't matter. The economy is not in great shape anywhere in the world. There's tariffs to deal with now. And we're just, generally what's in the news, we're just talking about U.S. with other countries, but there's other stuff going on between other countries too that don't even include the U.S. So, maybe buy now. Stack as much as you can. Stuff is what it is, folks. But this is becoming a hobby, unfortunately, that is starting to price people out. And this is one of the cheapest hobbies out there. because so much of it is physical. And we're getting to a point where, maybe we're looking at $700, $800 consoles for next gen for PlayStation and Xbox. Dang. I mean, that's just crazy to talk about. But yeah, we'll see. So anyway, yeah. And if you stack now, maybe you're avoiding the next price hike in 2 years. I don't know. Price hike hasn't happened for Xbox yet, but maybe you want to go stack some. Because prices are just going up. There's no ways about it. So there was a lawsuit for Ubisoft for actually shutting down and turning off the servers for the Crew 1. Maybe you actually remember hearing about this. There was some backlash, and Ubisoft actually got a lawsuit from 2 product owners of the Crew 1. And looks like that's officially over with. And now Ubi, ever since, has said, yes, there will be a, quote, offline mode if they're going to quit supporting a game, and they're going to actually implement that in there. We'll see how long they do that. But so far, they've actually been doing that, which is actually really nice, including like the Crew 2, and also, too, looks like for Motorfest. Now, unfortunately, X-Defiant is done, right? Because there isn't even going to be a player base. It's all, you need people to actually play. But some of these other, single-player games, or could be single-player, it would be nice if they have an offline mode. And this is starting to pick up steam, as there are some games that could be played co-op, but also could be played single as well. Like Redfall, again, another horrible game most people aren't going to play. That has an offline mode, and we're starting to see this as well for some other games from other studios and developers. So that's great. So I'm glad that this is actually catching some steam. But, of course, Ubisoft had to open their mouth. And one of the things that is really kind of disgusting is they said that buying a game doesn't give players, quote, unfettered ownership rights, unquote. Only, quote, limited license to access the game, end quote. And it's like, this is this is disgusting, because it's like, okay, if we're really just buying a license, why do we want to pay full price? If we're not even buying a physical copy, but not all of the data is on the disc, why are we purchasing it? Like, a lot of games don't have everything. Every once in a while, there are some studios, there are some publishers that actually put everything on the disc. I actually appreciate this with Split Fiction. You get 2 discs on Xbox. It's all there, which is great. Same with Assassin's Creed Shadows. You get 2 discs. Baldur's Gate 3 was 3 discs for Xbox. So it's really nice you actually get everything, because then you have actually all of the data right there. There actually is ownership in possession. But again, if they're just giving you a license and can just shut off the servers at any point, that's not good. Like, why should I pay full price for a game I can't keep? This was one of the issues that I had, too, with, like, Destiny 2. They had all of these events and all these other game modes and stuff, and they gave it to you. And they're like, well, for an extra $10, for an extra $20, for an extra $40, we can give this to you. But then they started taking content away. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. I freaking paid for that. I'm not paying for a temporary license to access those game modes, or those maps, or those raids, or even those environments. Like, if I paid for it, I want to go back and play it at any point. And I also want people, too, to be able to go back from the beginning if they want. Start over with Destiny 2 and just play all the way to current. But, yeah, you can't do that. And so, yeah, when they started doing that business model, I feel like that's when they started losing their player base. And then they started being pretty crappy, too, with their monetization, with their MTX, microtransactions. And it got incredibly expensive. And, again, they started losing that value proposition. So people started tapping out. They also weren't supporting their multiplayer, which wasn't very good. Their PvP. And so, yeah, they lost some of their audience because of that, too. And now Destiny's basically dead. They still have some content, but, I don't think really anybody cares anymore. And then the next big thing that Bungie's doing is Marathon, which I'm not convinced. If Marathon doesn't do well, I don't know if Bungie can exist anymore like it is. They've already had hundreds get laid off multiple times. So yeah, things don't look great. But it's like, this is an issue with buying a game can you just go back and play it whenever you want? Because that's what's great with the older stuff. I'm looking at my games right now that are physical, and I can just pull them off the screen and plug them in and just play. And they're there. They're on the backwards compatibility list. If I have the old hardware, the old consoles to run it, just play it. I mean, that's wonderful. It's great. But yeah, this digitization of our hobby is definitely got its consequences, and we should think about that. We should be logical with our purchases, folks, not emotional. Because, yeah, the companies want you to be emotional about stuff because you'll just buy, right? And they know that. There's plenty of marketing and surveys and reports to show that. And so that's what they've been doing. But I think people are starting to push back. Again, it's hard to keep the value proposition going. It certainly isn't for Nintendo, I don't think. That's just my opinion. If people like it, hey, go for it. Just don't go into debt, please. It's expensive. Don't go into debt for anything if you can help it. But food, keeping your car running, paying your mortgage, yeah, debt might be important for that. Medical bills, keeping yourself alive. I could see going into debt for that. Sure. But video games? Microtransactions? The super fancy COVID edition? Nah. There's better options with your money. And the companies don't care ultimately. They just want your cash. I think Nintendo is perfect proof of that right now. The live service trend that we've had, I think, is perfect proof of that. The fact that games can run and look like garbage, and they're like, buy more skins, baby, buy more skins, that you can't transfer over to the next game. It just sounds insane. They got you. Anyway, that's my little rant for the day. But hey, let's go ahead and keep going. But yeah, to not have unfettered rights is kind of ridiculous. I guess there is one other thing that I wanted to talk about. Some of the issues that have been mentioned by other companies that have taken stuff down or taken stuff offline is saying, well, we don't own the music rights. We can't find the rights. We don't have rights to that art, etc. So it really shows that even in development of some of these games, the assets, whatever they are leased to the developer, are leased to the publisher for a period of time. And I think that's got to stop too. So if you're making video games, why not just make all of your assets in-house? Then you don't have to worry about this. You just use your music, your art design, your software, your source code. It's nice to have partnerships. There's more money involved. You can make better projects. It can, in a way, make things easier. But it doesn't maintain the game's stability long term to be playable. Because again, if licensing is the issue, maybe we should simplify the licensing and just keep it in-house. Change the terms, something. I mean, this is why EA, for example, didn't want to buy for the FIFA brand because they wanted $1 billion. So they went and made Football Club. This is why two characters in GTA 6 trailer were like, hey, pay me money. You used my likeness. And Rockstar was able to say, well, no, we didn't. It's heavily inspired. So again, it's what you can prove in court, but it doesn't matter if you're a big company or some guy just living a normal Joe life. We all want money. We all want not just our fair share, but as much share as we can get. Right? Greed is not just a company problem. It's everybody. I think, too, we don't need to have Spider-Man games. Games that are DC, Marvel, Wolverine, Wonder Woman. I think it's fun. Absolutely, I think it's fun. But we also had other games, too. I mean, we had Sly Cooper. We had Prototype, Jak and Daxter, Spyro, Infamous. These were all games that were where the hero was created out of nothing. Just somebody's brain. And they didn't have to use someone else's IP to make a video game. I hope in some degree the creation comes back. Why can't we make more Prototypes, God of Wars, Why can't we make more Infamous? Why can't we create more characters to build a story behind? Again, partly I think too many people that knew how to do that have retired, and the newer ones don't know how to do that. And I think that's why the writing sucks. I think that's why, too, the character development is focused on different things for the modern audience, and why these games are failing, especially in the AAA space. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'd like to see some more creativity. I think that'd be great. And I think, too, it would help solve some of the licensing problem. But yeah, we'll see. I think it'll take more pain before anything changes. Okay, we're on to our last page. So let's talk about the Xbox app. It's actually been an update pretty recently this week. It now allows you to actually buy games, join Game Pass, and actually redeem your rewards and perks right there through the app. Now, there was a stay through Google that prevented the launch back in November of 2024. Sarah Bond was talking about this. Basically, in a few days, they couldn't actually launch it like they were planning on. Google put a stay, which was temporary. The courts upheld it. Well, the stay is over, as far as I know, or at least to some degree. And so Xbox is able to do what they want. And Google really just didn't want the competition, And so now you're actually able to have this stuff through the app. I'm not entirely sure if you can actually have the Xbox app yet through the Google store to this degree. I'm going to have to try it out at some point to see if I can buy a cheap little game or something. But yeah, Google too has a problem. They have like this walled garden, and there's antitrust lawsuits. They need to actually allow competition, and so to block the Xbox app from in-game purchases, or even just buying games for your library and some of these other features, that's not going to hold water. It's eventually going to fall through. So, but yeah, ultimately the Xbox app, if you want it, it allows more control away from your console. And again, Xbox is, I think we all know it now, but Xbox is getting away from just everything being through your console and being through whatever you have on your person. The hardware doesn't matter. They don't care. If they can get it onto your hardware, if they can get into your pocket, then, you can give them their money. And it's an easier time, easier access, more ways to do it. And that's ultimately going to be more revenue for them. And that's ultimately what's happening. So, and I'm sure too, at this point, this is not going to be the final product. They're going to continue to develop features. They're going to continue to develop cloud streaming. They will continue to develop their apps and what is actually possible or capable. So, also too, Game Pass Ultimate members, you can also stream your own library. So it's not just Game Pass games. It's games that are outside of Game Pass. And for those of us that have Game Pass, or for those that have done a little bit of study, we know that Game Pass games don't stay on there necessarily forever. They do eventually come off, right? They only stay on there for some time, sometimes longer than others. But they do eventually come off so that more games can hop on. And so, yeah, being able to have your library with you, to be able to just stream it wherever you are, that's actually really, really cool. So far, we have 131 games that you can actually just stream from your own library, and this will continue to grow. I actually went through and counted the entire list. If I remember, I will link that list from Xbox Wired. But yeah, you still have to use a browser feature. It's certainly not perfect, but an app on the console is actually coming. So that will actually be pretty cool. And I'm sure that app is also coming to, and that feature is coming just to the straight Xbox app that you can have on your phone, tablet, whatever. And yeah, they're really expanding this. Currently, too, it's also to 28 countries. And, this will be nice to save space if that's an issue for people. Or, too, for handhelds. We know that Xbox is making a partnership with Asus to make a handheld. It's going to have the Xbox operating system on there. And yeah, the Xbox app and all of this, they're going to want that to be capable. So they're laying the groundwork now so that they can really be ready for what they want to do with themselves as a platform. And it's really quite impressive what they're doing, and at the speed in which they're doing it. I don't think other platforms can really keep up at the pace right now that they're doing, but they've been getting the ball rolling, I think, for a while, because we've had quite a few years where there hasn't really been much happening with Xbox. And now suddenly it's just like a coal train, full steam ahead, baby. And they're going for it. So yeah, link below if you're interested to actually take a look at that list. Let's talk too about Lords of the... Oh yeah, one other thing. Doom the Dark Ages controllers and wrap if you're interested. Regular controller, which they do look pretty cool. There is something on their Xbox channel on YouTube if you just want to take a quick look at what they look like. And yeah, they're fancy, but they're expensive too. So the regular controller is $80. If you want the Elite controller, it's $200. And then the wrap is $55, which pretty expensive in my opinion, especially for the wrap. I think they should be more like $30 or $35, but $55 for a fancy wrap around your Xbox, man, that's pretty nuts. But anyway, if you want to take a look, there's that too on their channel. Let's talk about Lords of the Fallen. Now, this was a game that Lion and I actually played through. We were curious about it. We really like Dark Souls games, and so we were willing to try this out. We were working on playing through it. So if you want to see our playthrough, actually, which is no longer the current version of the game, thank goodness, you can actually take time to watch that if you'd like, and watch us struggle, baby, because, yeah, we definitely are. But right now they're releasing version 2.0 for Lords of the Fallen. So the publisher, CI Games, and the dev, Hexworks, which Hexworks was built in-house. This was their first game that they made. 2.0 actually overhauls basically the entire game. The combat, you actually added a pass if you get lost or to help you know where to go. You can actually share the game with your friends for free. And there's plenty of other bugs and network fixes and all sorts of stuff. So there's actually a vid, which I'll link down below. But yeah, they've done a ton of work. And Hexworks, too, has also been pretty controversial. One thing in particular was like they just put up a poll. Hey, would you guys like to have a better emphasis on male and female gender? And 80% of their audience was like, yes. And so they just changed it right there. Like that week. They just gave it to their player base. So this is a company, whether you agree with their philosophy or not, their philosophy is focused on the players. That's who they want to serve. They're not here to push ideology. They're not here to push philosophy. They're not here to push agendas. Their agenda is you. That's what they've said. That's what they've shown so far. And that's awesome. So Hexworks is definitely getting on my list because as a consumer, I want to be appreciated. I want to be cared for. And I want to be thought of when these developers are making the game. And two, they're taking the feedback, and now we have version 2.0. Not that they haven't been fixing stuff beforehand, not that they haven't been also giving stuff out for free, not using microtransactions, which is wonderful. But yeah, they wanted to stick with their game. They wanted to make it, and this reminds me of No Man's Sky, and this also reminds me of Cyberpunk 2077, and even Fallout 76. A lot of studios, yep, the game's dead, it's done, we're going to move on to the next project, this thing's just going to die, it's dead already. But some companies, they want to actually resurrect their game, keep it going, show that they care. And when they do that, I can guarantee you they're going to sell more copies of their next game. They're going to get on the radar for some people, such as myself, and actually gain that trust and respect and appreciation. So yeah, Hexworks, if you see their name, maybe keep an eye open, because yeah, they're going to be working on some other games. Yeah, it was honestly pretty cool. Lastly, let's talk about Path of the Exile. Right now, it's negative on the Steam score at 40%, which is crazy. It's like, good gravy. What happened? Well, Grinding Gear, the developers, the game is in early access currently. You have to buy to get in. They were making some changes that slowed down the game movement, progression, combat, DPS, all of this stuff. It really made the game kind of feel sluggish and make the enemies seem too powerful for a lot of people. And we're not talking just like a small bit. We're talking about some pretty big percentages here. And so some players are being reminded of what Diablo 4 was like with all of the Blizzard issues that they were doing for 2 years, including all of the servers and whatever. And to be compared to Blizzard for Diablo 4, boy, that's not really that good. So yeah, some people are pretty upset, especially too with the recent score of 40%. Like, I mean, if I want to say I want to remember that I think toward the beginning there, the score for Path of Exile 2 was like high 80s. So to be down for 80%, to be down from 80 plus to 40% now, that is brutal. So yeah, they've already started working on fixing some of this stuff. But Grinding Gear actually had a 2-hour cast to talk about some of the issues, to talk about what others are talking about, chat about the issues, to get feedback. And then 10 hours later, there was a ton of patches and fixes that they were already working on, and they dumped it all out there, and they are continuing to actually work on stuff. And part of the issue is like the players are treating this game, Path of the Exile, as a finished product. Because again, they had to pay for it. And Path of Exile is also dishing out, DLCs and seasons for stuff. So it feels, it plays, it runs, it costs like a finished product. So that is the expectation of your player base. And again, we have another mishap where it's just like major nerf across the board for everything. And it was way too much. That has happened, I think, basically in every single game that's been out there. And even Grinding Gear, they're human, and they're making some major mistakes. So, but what really matters is how they fix them. So they're working on it quickly. Again, they're trying to get more feedback from players. And I even talked to one of my buddies at work, and he's like, yeah, there was some major issues. It was really frustrating to play for a while, and it's gotten better. But man, there were days where he didn't want to play. So that's pretty telling how much the game actually changed in its feel and its progression. And Grinding Gear had a really good thing going, but people just can't not step on a rake. Ourselves included. I mean, let's be honest. But yeah, thankfully they are working on doing this, but this is kind of a reason why I don't like buying early access. Okay, I've done it a few times in the past, and I've been screwed more often than not, and feel like I've kind of wasted my money. So I'll play open betas. Okay, I'll be a part of closed playtests. Absolutely. But to actually pay to have access to a game that's not finished, no. I'm not really doing that anymore. I'm not really interested in that. Other people can do that and risk their cash. Money's tight sometimes, and it's getting expensive. And yeah, I need a guarantee. or some kind of free-to-play access, because not all of this stuff works. It's not that, like, Path of Exile 2 is going anywhere or anything, but I think this is a good lesson that even Grinding Gear, even somebody that people really trust, can still severely mess up and make it frustrating, and maybe make you feel like you kind of wasted your money, because we still don't have a date, really, of when this is going to go out of early access. And even games like Baldur's Gate 3, which, that's cool. A really great game. They were in early access for 3 years. That's a really, really long time. Again, it's a good game. But there's definitely some risk, especially if you're paying in. Because then if the game's not really going anywhere, if they're not really taking your feedback, then you're just wasting your money. And for a lot of people, that's risky right now. So yeah, those expectations were different for players. And at the same time, part of their Grinding Gears plan was to say, hey, you can go to PoE 1, we'll continue to support it, but they admitted that they needed to pull too many resources that were working on PoE 1, pulling it over to PoE 2, because they messed up so bad, because again, they're pushing content on both games at the same time. I mean, these are basically live service games where content keeps coming down the line at regular intervals, and they've admitted they haven't really been able to do it. So they're going to throw you a bone at PoE 2 while they're continuing to work and fix they're going to throw you a bone on PoE 1, but they're still working on PoE 2. And yeah, this is frustrating. I mean, it is kind of a risk. And I do think they are going to stick with it, fix it. I think it'll still be a wonderful game. But, we shouldn't have stars in our eyes. Companies should have to prove their reputation. Companies should have to prove that, again, they have our best interests at heart, because we've all been burned by a company somewhere. I can think of mine, and it's still hard to go back and play that game sometimes because of how burned I was. Some of you know what that is. But ultimately, these are companies. They are out for your money. but are they providing the value? Are they making you feel valuable? Are they taking care of you? Do they earn your trust instead of just expect it? One final thought, which this has already happened. There's not much you can do now, but got word, thanks Lion, that EA Origin is actually shutting down. So there's going to be a whole new thing, EA Desktop, for which EA, I guess, have actually been like talking about this for a couple of months now, but it hasn't really made the news very well. So, but yeah, EA Origins is shutting down, and you needed to do it, which is already past the date, but April 18th, to actually get your information and stuff crossed over. But, there is some risk of losing your save data, losing your, quote, ownership, your license to some of these older games. And that sucks. And again, this is just on PC. If you're on console, I don't believe you have to worry about any of this. But, yeah, again, that's another risk, is using first-party launchers, first-party stores, because, yeah, they can just rip it out, cause issues, create problems at a moment's notice. And you and I don't have any control. And, that's just kind of how it is. So EA Desktop, which is going to be a new app, really looks like it'll be a new launcher. It'll be, of course, more pushing stuff they want you to buy, but it'll be more stable, run better. Looks like, too, the connection is also going to be better, because some people playing Apex Legends through Origins has been pretty frustrated, but with a couple of videos that I watched. But ultimately, it probably will be a better thing for the experience. But again, getting everything shifted over and transferred, that sucks, because otherwise it's like you might have to buy these again. And if that's the case, that's incredibly frustrating. And you could also lose your save files too. And with people that have already been testing EA Desktop, it's not without bugs either. Again, it's a new launcher, it's a new app, it's a new platform. There's always going to be bugs, but hopefully they can make it better, way better than Origins, if they're making people switch like this. Otherwise, what's the point? And ultimately, I think the switch is to benefit the company more than the consumer. That's generally my belief when a lot of this stuff kind of happens. So we'll have to keep an eye out on EA Desktop. And if you've used it, hey, what do you guys think? How was your transfer process? Were you able to get things transferred well enough? Did stuff run? Let us know in the comments. So with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. You can always follow me at GamingGarbage22 over at YouTube. Don't forget, too, we also have our playlist, so you can click around the various videos. And we have just about everything over there. I mean, we have playthroughs over there. We have gaming news. We have deep dives into the industry for States of Gaming. We have movie or game adaptions for movies and TV shows. There's a bunch. And, I mean, it will continue to accumulate. So I'm using playlists to the best of my ability to make sure that it's not too busy, but maybe it already is. Oh, well, it's how it is the best I can do. And you can also follow me over at Twitch as well if you'd like it. Don't tread on thee. So as for the news stuff, where I take time to talk about gaming news and deep dives and states of gaming, I don't really talk and interact with the chat because it interrupts me pretty bad. I have to write everything down, and it just totally kills the flow. And but yeah, playthroughs and playing games and just grabbing some video content. Yeah, I'll chat with folks in the chat. Absolutely. So with that, folks, hopefully you guys are doing well. Enjoy Easter. Take some time. And hey, if it's not your thing, that's okay. But have you ever really given it a chance? And with that, folks, I'll see you guys.